Friends, if you see, we have discussed since decades about the manufacturing growth in India. Even as of today, we see the data. This overall GDP overall contribution of manufacturing in the GDP is something around 16%, which is very less in comparison to the other countries. I think if you see the China and other countries, they are much ahead of us actually. And we are talking about that it should be 25% minimum. So if we see this discussions are there since last many years. I have attended many programs, many summits on the climate also, and the manufacturing summits where everybody is talking, but the number is not growing actually. So it is very important to understand the context of this clean tech manufacturing, because this is a very large opportunity for India to take the lead and become the market leader in clean tech manufacturing side. And government has already started taking the initiative. In this current budget also, we will discuss what are the announcements which have been done so that we can make the products for India in India, and then we can export it like in the mobile telecom. You see that we are exporting mobiles to other countries in a big number actually. Cars, if you see that this Maruti, Hyundai, and all are exporting large number of cars to the other countries. Actually, there is a car which the Maruti has launched. This entire model of that car has been sold in Japan actually, not in India. So you see that we can make the product for the other part of the world with their requirement and all. Not even we are making for India, but we can make for the other part of the world. So such kind of opportunities are available. But being we are finance people and we are here to discuss on the innovative funding ideas actually. So traditionally, as you know that we have to discuss what are the other ideas and other areas through which this funding, what we are talking, or the innovative funding ideas, uh, we can understand, and then the people who are joining us in this program, they can get the benefit of it actually, and how the organizations like GEF and this IFFC, they are helping the industry to get these fundings from their point of view. So we have prepared a small PPT, which I would like to run it here. I'll request to Mr. Devesh Sarma to please start that PPT, which might help you to get some data, some information. It will not be just a PPT. So next slide. So everybody knows now that in India, the decarbonization is important for us, and we have certain targets also. So in different categories, if you see, these are the targets. So if I go on the EV sales, because the renewable energy, everybody is aware, EV sales is really important to discuss here. Actually, we are talking 80% penetration of the EV vehicles in the two-wheeler segment, actually, which looks, I think, very ambitious, but the government has set these targets. And even in the commercial vehicle, we are talking at 70% actually. So the kind of investment, kind of funding is required actually, massive actually. Then the ethanol, biodiesel, biojet fuel. So these are the areas which will contribute the decarbonization of the our country targets. And these areas or these sectors will require a lot of equipments actually, lot of capital goods for achieving these targets actually. And I was reading somewhere else, and it was written that there will be a requirement of $10 trillion by 2047 actually. So this is, I think, more than triple of our today's GDP, actually, the funding will be required to meet out the targets of our country, actually. So it's a huge opportunity. Yeah, next slide. So if we see the current budget, the government has announced many things, and out of which, if you see that under the manufacturing mission, on the Make in India, the clean tech manufacturing has covered greatly. And for that, certain initiatives have taken in the PLI is a old scheme where the government has given a lot of support to the solar sector and hydrogen and all. Now they are trying to create a domestic value chain for the solar PV cells or EV batteries and wind turbines. I think still we are dependent on the other part of the globe, other part of the world. So these are the areas where we want to be independent, and then we can serve to the other part of the world also. So the government has given some exemption on the duty on the raw material. So custom duty exemption will help to get the raw material at the cheaper cost so that we can be competitive in the international market. Then there are certain tax reliefs also on the various segments. Yeah, next slide. So these are some of the hurdles which we thought we should discuss here. So if you see the large corporates, for them, the getting funding is not a challenge because they have benchmarks, they have certain track records. But the discussion is on the accessing of this low cost funding. When you are talking any manufacturing setup and all, if you are not getting the funding at the low cost, then definitely the overall product which you are manufacturing will be costlier and will not be competitive in the other markets actually. So that's the major area which we have to discuss, that what are the areas where we can get the low cost funding. Then there are many new projects which are coming, new players, new corporates, MSME players are coming, and they are trying the new technologies, new setups. But practically, if you see, there are few takers in the funding side because they are new technology, and then the funding cost is also high. So this is another concern area how it can be addressed, which we need to discuss here actually. Then there are options which Avneet will discuss regarding the green bonds and the social bonds. But there are many things which need to follow before going for raising these funds. So stronger disclosure standards and ESG strategies and all these things. Regulation is very very strict. And the one more piece is there, which is the bond market. Still, we are behind in terms of the bond market in our country for the organizations which are upcoming organizations and which are not rated the top rating category. So this need to be, I think, discussed, and they need to be thought of that how it can be available, this kind of funding, and should be available to the emerging organizations also by way of relaxations in the norms or maybe partial guarantee schemes and all these things. The next. So some ideas from our side. Definitely, we have experts. They will discuss. So I think the world is talking about the blended funding. So blended financing can help where all kind of stakeholders can come together and help in the achieving of these capital intensive technology or manufacturing setups so that the flow of money should be available from all stakeholders. Then this already we have started, or we have gone ahead on the InvIT so that whatever the money is locked in the businesses, it can be unlocked through the InvIT launching of the InvIT also, InvIT units also. Then there are many other areas actually. If you see international bond market, which has their own other challenges, credit guarantee or the partial credit guarantee is one of the, I think, important tool in the budget. Also, the government has authorized NEFID to work out on it actually, where this the bond market which we are talking, the AA and AAA rated. So with the partial credit guarantee schemes, there can be the possibility that the corporates which are not highly rated, they can get the access of this money also at the lower cost and the longer tenure funding also. Then the export credit guarantee, we are already having some schemes and the government backed guarantees also. So these are some of the areas which we thought let us touch upon on that these areas. So there can be discussion and deliberation on that. And next slide. Yeah, next slide. So MDB, this multilateral developmental financial institutions, I think they are having a lot of funds actually, a lot of money which they want to invest in the developing market and mainly in the climate sector or ESG side. But if you see, practically, they have not invested much where they have certain challenges also. Timelines are longer actually in comparison to the domestic financial institutions. They are although looking for developmental aspect, but many times they are risk averse on the new technologies and all these areas actually. So this is I think discussion where hopefully he can highlight on that. Actually, he because these institutions, multilateral developmental financial institutions, are mainly funding through the refinancing mode actually, where they are not directly lending to the corporates. They're lending to giving money to the refinancing the financial institutions, and they are funding further to the corporates and other organizations actually. Yeah, so this is something which I thought let me just cover up and give some understanding so that we can discuss around that all. Now, I would like to invite the panel speakers. So we have all four panel speakers here. So I would like to welcome again to all of you, Popli ji, Subradas ji, Alpit ji, and Abnit ji, for joining this today's webinar. So Alpit ji has some, I think, other engagement. So Alpit ji, I would like to welcome you and invite you for your deliberation. So, Balbirji, if you can give some idea about GEF actually, what is the GEF capital? Because many people are not aware actually, and how you are helping the Indian corporates in the climate sector actually. So, it will be helpful. Over to you, LPG.
Sure. Thank you so much. So I'll just give a brief background of what we at GEF are focused on. So we're a climate-focused investor. We are global in our outlook. So we invest in three broad geographies: North America, Latin America, and South Asia. I'm a part of the South Asia platform, and I've been investing as a part of GEF in the region for the last 14 plus years. Uh, we focus on everything that one can kind of fit into the climate domain. So we focus on renewable energy, we focus on circular economy, we focus on uh, you know transition themes such as EV transportation. Uh, we look at recycling businesses. We look at businesses that uh, enable energy efficiency. So it's a fairly broad gamut of themes that we look at. We also look at areas such as water and waste, uh, and we come in as minority growth investors and help companies scale. And in India, we've invested in all these verticals. In some of the leading platforms in each of these sectors have been or are still our portfolio companies. So that's kind of in a nutshell what we've been doing at GEF in India.
Great. Thank you so much for giving the background of your fund. So, in ticket size point of view, what is the minimum ticket size or maximum ticket size we generally consider when you are investing?
So our investment ranges today are all the way from, I would say, 200 crores to 800 crores. If I would kind of look at the range of investments that we typically or the size of deals that we would look at, this would be our investment. And obviously, the company's kind of capital base could be far larger, but we typically do transactions between 20-25 million dollars all the way to $100 million.
Great. So, uh, Alpinji, thank you so much for introducing yourself and your organization. Now, I would like to request Subhraji. Subhraji, first of all, welcome to you again. And would like to understand Greenco, although it's a known name actually in India. But if you can just brief about yourself and the Greenco so that people will connect with you.
Thank you, Ashish. So let me first give a brief introduction of myself. First of all, thank you all the panelists. Thank you, Mr. Popli. It's a privilege to be with you today. And for a brief introduction of mine, I have been in the power sector for the last 3.5 decades. And for Greenco only, I've been there for the last 9 months. So before that, I was a SEMCO for the last 7 years as a CFO. Greenco, all that I would like to say about Greenco is for them, sustainability is not just a mission, but it's a commitment. When I say commitment, what do I mean here? So in 2016 in Paris Act, when they decided that the surface temperature growth should be restricted to 1 degree, that time the entire world decided that they will go for renewable energy. But no one thought that is renewable energy a solution to it? Because first of all, what do you do at night when there is no solar power? Whether the grid can sustain the fluctuating energy. So all these issues cropped up. And today, Greenco has provided a solution to this pump storage. So Greenco has moved quite a big headway in pump storage. The first pump storage in Andhra Pradesh has been commissioned now, is 1680 megawatt. And the second one, 1900 megawatt at MP, is in the active stage of construction. Then we are also going ahead with two more, one in Karnataka and one in Rajasthan. So both the project, Karnataka has started the construction, and Rajasthan we are just reaching the financial closure. So with that, about 6 gigawatt of pump storage will be ready in next 2027. In addition to 5.5 gigawatt of wind and solar, and hydro. So they have already also taken over Tista Power from Sikkim government. So another 1.2 gigawatt of capacity has been added up in hydro, plus some NCLT assets we are looking at. So all that I would like to say about Greenco is not just a renewable company, it's a renewable solution company. And through its pump storage, they are giving this is a company which is almost ready to make renewable power a base load station, which was a dream for everyone. So now we can, through this pump storage is possible. And also its affordable power is also there as compared to whatever the thermal power is providing. So it can provide affordable renewable solution and make it a base load power. So that's all from Greenco's side.
Thank you so much, sir. I think you're living with the power sector, entire career you have spent in it actually. So thank you so much. Thank you. So, Popli sir, good evening. So, first of all, Popli sir, welcome to you and thank you so much for sparing time. You are busy in India Energy Week, where you have many engagement. In spite of it, you could get time. So, sir, although everybody knows you basically, everybody knows about you also, but if you can just introduce yourself briefly, that will be helpful to all of them.
Like my previous speaker, I had also been in the power sector throughout my career. I started my career with NHPC as a design engineer, and then I shifted to Power Finance Corporation, where I worked in funding thermal projects, transmission, distribution, hydro, so and gas projects in Power Finance Corporation. From there, I shifted to Indian Renewable Energy Development Agency. I worked there for 12 years. In 2019, I retired. So the whole gamut of financing I had seen. And today I am associated with few companies. One is Resurgent also, and I am independent director with few companies. So that is my brief background. And I am also associated with World Biogas Association. So few of the things that I am doing. And thank you for your excellent presentation. One thing on this, why we are not able to get multilateral development funding to the extent that we want. The one difficulty that they also faced, some of them, was in getting sovereign guarantee, because all the funding is through sovereign guarantee. And Government of India has a limit to which they would like to go for issuing guarantee. So that was one. Bilateral bilateral development agencies like AFD, KFW also again ask for sovereign guarantee, but they can fund it without sovereign guarantee. So, but the rate of interest is higher, so it doesn't work. Like JICA, of course, you get it at a lower rate. World Bank, you get it. ADB, you get it. So this is where we are, and then we'll follow on with the questions. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thanks for nice introduction, sir.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you. Yeah. So now we have Mr. Avneet ji. Avneet ji, welcome to you. Would like to listen from you about IFFC actually, and about yourself also, and how this IFFC is contributing in the climate sector by way of various instruments and other initiatives. Over to you.
First of all, good evening to the esteemed panel members. And first of all, I would like to thank Resurgent India for giving me the opportunity to speak in front of this esteemed panel. So I'll quickly introduce myself as I'm the least experienced person on the panel. So by qualification, I'm an engineer. I have done my BTech and MTech from IIT Kharagpur in mechanical engineering. And I've been working with IFSCA since past 2 years. So I've joined IFSCA as a grade A officer in the division of sustainable finance. And currently, I am working in two divisions at sustainable finance, that is division of funds and the division of sustainable finance. So that's a short and a quick introduction about myself. And with respect to IFSCA, so as you all are aware that IFSCA is a unified regulator. So all the four regulators in the domestic India, that is RBI, SEBI, IRDAI, and PFRDA, all the powers that these regulators have in domestic India, we have all those powers in the jurisdiction of GIFT IFSC. So here we have banking units. Here we have both the exchanges, that is India INX and NSE IX. And here we are also working in the insurance sector. So, in climate sector, basically we have taken various initiatives with respect to the debt listing, with respect to loans, and with respect to funds, which I'll talk about later in this webinar. So, I've prepared a presentation with respect to all these initiatives that we have taken so far in past 4 or 5 years. So, I'll share as we move forward. I'll share all the initiatives with you guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you for giving the brief background about yourself and the IFFC. So, friends, now the introduction part is over. So, we'll come on the direct on the questions from our panel speakers. So, Alpinji, you were discussing, you are
Sorry, your voice is breaking for me, Ashish. Hello. Ashish, you'll have to repeat the question because I can't. Your screen is frozen for me.
having the experience of investing in. I'm sorry, there was some connectivity issue. So, I'll repeat it, Alpinji.
Yeah, I think Ashish, the screen is still, at least for me, still frozen. I'm not sure if the others are able to hear you, but I'm not.
No, I can't hear.
I also can't hear Ashish.
Sorry, Alpiji, hello, you're getting my voice?
No, nothing. Can't hear anything, Ashish.
Hello?
I think now I
Yes.
can. Ashish, now I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, so did you get, sorry, I'm really very, very sorry. Did you get the questions or I should
No,
repeat?
no, not at all. As
Okay,
in, I couldn't hear you at all for the last 2 hours.
okay. Okay. So there are two questions, sir, which you'd like to understand from you. One is that the clean tech manufacturing opportunity in India versus global, where we are. And another is that the projects which are there in India, what kind of mismatches you are seeing in the funding point of view, maybe from the private equity point of view, and what is your advice to the founders? Because there are many new founders are also coming in this sector actually.
So, no, so I think to your first point, our own experience manufacturing in India, investing in manufacturing in India has been very positive. Uh, so we, like I said, we straddle the entire gamut of investment. So, and actually Greenco is also a former portfolio company of ours. We were investors in Greenco from 2009 till 2014, if I recall correctly, and then GIC bought our stake. Uh, so our investments in India have done very well, and especially in the manufacturing space. So we've invested in companies like Shakti Pumps that manufactures solar pumps. We've invested in companies like Premier Energies, which is, I would say, by any metric, maybe the second or third largest solar module and cell manufacturer in terms of operational capacity. And we've invested in power electronics companies also that have, companies that make, say, solar inverters or equipment that goes into, industrial energy efficiency. So we've invested in various kinds of businesses in India, and our experience has been very positive. And I would say positive both from how these companies have scaled up and how their products have been globally competitive. So when a premier makes a solar uh, module or a solar cell, it's not just a solar module or cell that can be, say, sold in India because of, say, DCR requirement, but it's also a panel which is up there in terms of efficiency and quality, and even American and European customers are kind of buying that product, right? And similarly, if I look at, say, a company like Shakti or a Rishabh Instruments, Indian manufacturers are making products that are globally competitive and globally relevant. So I think that is beyond doubt that if given the right incentives and if we create the right ecosystem for manufacturing in India, Indian manufacturers can compete globally, and they don't need protection to kind of compete against global players, and they can stand on their own 2 feet. Obviously, each sector requires a certain degree of incubation and push till that maturity is reached, and some of that may require certain duty protection or certain other kind of incentives that need to be given to local manufacturing, which is being done, which is being done in fairly good measure. If you look at various sectors like solar or green hydrogen electrolyzer manufacturing, uh, or 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 other areas as well, right? So I think the ecosystem exists, the DNA for quality manufacturing exists, and Indian companies can be very, very competitive and relevant globally. On the second part of your question, Ashish, uh, see, capital is drawn to areas where there is economic outcome, right? So as long as there is a market and there is profitability in that market, capital will come. And so you're seeing, you're seeing, and capital can come in various forms. It can come as foreign institutional capital, private equity capital. It can come from sovereign uh, institutions or developmental financial institutions. The nature of capital will vary. It could also be domestic capital. If you look at what, say, a Wari has done, Wari, a lot of the most bulk of their capital has been domestic capital from domestic financial institutions that's come in. So I think capital is available to support Indian manufacturing businesses to scale. I think the economic outcomes need to be very certain. So if you look at how renewable energy in India is scaled. Once you had the PPA frameworks, people were willing to put capital into renewable energy, and a ton of capital has come into various platforms. And most of the leading platforms in India today have some form of foreign capital, either as equity or as debt capital, right? So capital is available and capital is forthcoming once the ecosystem is created, and once people are certain that there will be stability of policies and stability of economic outcomes. So for example, if I look at the pipeline of opportunities that we see for ourselves as GEF, we have a fairly robust pipeline in each of these areas, right? And I think it sometimes will depend on the nature of each investor's thematic focus, but capital will be available. For example, in electrolyzer manufacturing in India today, maybe people who are willing to take more early stage bets will be the right kind of capital, right? Because these businesses are today uh, at a level where they're just setting up manufacturing capabilities for themselves. Solar manufacturing, on the other hand, is scaled. There are many scaled players available, so you will have more growth capital that will come in. So the nature of capital coming into each sector will vary, but capital is available, and my sense is will keep coming into each of these sectors as long as the policy framework is supportive and stable.
So, is there any advice, for the founders, which are emerging founders in the country, because there are new players are coming?
See, my sense is I think the advice varies, right? As in the advice would vary, like I said, depending on what they're trying to do. Now, something like electrolyzer manufacturing or solar manufacturing requires a large amount of capital, right? It's not something that you can do as a startup sitting in your garage. But if you're doing something on energy efficient equipment, or intelligence into, say, automation which can reduce energy consumption, those kind of ideas can be done with a smaller amount of capital, with a lot of ingenuity. So the nature of what you're trying to do varies in terms of what risk taking appetite do you have, what capital base do you have. So very hard to kind of, I would say, straight jacket my advice, but my advice would be, look, there is tremendous opportunity out there. Like I said, there are various pools of capital that are available to kind of support you in your journey. You just need to approach the right kind of capital, and that capital will be available. You need to have a robust business plan, and you need to stay the course. So don't be disheartened if if capital or success doesn't come very quickly or very easily. I think people just need to stay the course, and then the more resilient founders will find that capital and opportunity both are available to them.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Arpit. Thanks for your views also, and I think it will be helpful to all of us. So, friends, now we have Mr. Das. Mr. Das, you are veteran in this industry, as you told, that 35 years you have spent in power sector itself. So, you have seen multiple fundings, solutions. You have must have tried also. So, do you think that in the current situation, whatever the sector requirement is there, the domestic financial institutions are good enough to meet out that requirement? Not only manufacturing, even the projects also. So that's the one area which I think nobody can be better than you who can guide us also. And then the subsidies is one of the area where the people are looking towards government always incentive subsidy. So from as a developer point of view, as a large developer in the country, what do you think actually? These are helpful, or these are only kick startup for the organizations? So these two questions are there which you'd like to understand from you.
Well, I would like to put the first question which is that whether finance is available in India or not. The concern of the lenders initially was the creditworthiness of the off-taker. So what will happen right now, there are some electricity boards or the of the distribution companies where the receivables are as high as more than 1 year and 1.5 years. So that was the concern for which the domestic forget foreign investor lenders, the domestic lenders were not willing to fund. But now things have changed drastically. The government first bought SECI as a backstopper. So on SECI PPS, many institutions are willing forward to forward. Then now the biggest breakthrough which has happened is the LPS scheme. With the LPS scheme and the Prapti portal, so which the government went aggressive cutting the power in the states if they don't pay on time. That has really made a big impact in the country. As a result of which, the receivables, which was a very big challenge for the industries to operate, that has changed drastically. So now going by this, with the finance, domestic finance, as per they now are getting a big comfort to finance. But the question is the liquidity position. Yes, but liquidity challenge is always there, and we have to go for some other method of financing instead of just depending on banks or NBFCs. So there are a lot of other ways. For example, we can go for bonds, and the innovative ways of all green bonds can be issued, which NTPC has started issuing, and many others have also started issuing. In addition to this, we should go for some new methods, new source of bonds like sustainability linked bonds. So sustainability linked bonds is something many foreign countries have issued, and in India also in 2021, Aditya Birla had issued some 400 million US dollar. In sustainability linked bonds, what happens is you utilize the funds towards improving the sustainability targets. For example, it may not be invested in a sustainable project or in solar or wind project, but you invest in such a way that you're contributing to improving the sustainability. So right now, one which I believe was Aditya Birla issued, then it was IFC was invested in a sustainable linked bond, which was issued by Tata Cleantech, and similarly, these new funding capitals are coming up. But in order to have a good cost of financing or an optimized cost of financing, we should not depend totally on domestic institutions. We should depend on outsiders. The issue with outsiders is multilateral agencies or export credit agencies. They are cheap and they can give long-term financing, but the issue is they're very time-consuming, and from starting from scratch until getting the disbursement takes more than 1.5 years. Then IREDA is of course a good solution, but again, first of all, if you have to give competitive power, the cost of financing is something which has to be addressed. And in India, the cost of funding is very high. And if you go for foreign debt, ECB loans, the hedging cost is also very high, which has to be addressed by the government. So this is the first part of it. Then coming to subsidies, see, subsidies have got positive as well as negative effects. So just talk of 2010 when am I audible or I'm frozen? My screen is frozen. Am I audible?
Yeah,
Yes,
you are
yes.
audible. You are audible.
Now you're yes.
Okay. So as far as subsidy is concerned, so in 2010, when solar projects were coming up, solar energy was costing about 17 rupees per kilowatt hour. So at that point of time, if we really wanted to have solar energy, without subsidy, things could not have happened. But now slowly, what government made subsidy in a competitive way. They went for VGF funding, viability gap funding. You have to in the bid, you have to say how much of subsidy you require. So slowly, what happened? The tariff started falling. The viability gap funding became zero, and it went away. So initially, subsidy has to be there, but there should be a restraint or there should be a constraint because a subsidy may stop competitive innovations. So people who go for example, earlier solar panels which are costing about $2 per kilowatt has now come down to about 20 cents or 15 cents. So if you give subsidy to meet that tariff, people may not take interest in this innovation. So subsidy, as long as it's used in an innovative way, subsidy is good for the nation. Or if it's used in a negative way, for example, just for making money, and you don't put any effort in R&D, subsidy is going to be a disaster in the country. So these are my two takes on your question.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Das, for covering in a very great manner. One small thing which you like to understand on the funding side. So, do you have any thought process where some kind of blended financing, which we are talking, which will help to get the funding for this sector. Because still in India, these CSR funds and all, they are not available for the corporate investments and all these things. So, any thought on that?
Will you repeat your the first part? I missed. Your voice broke on the beginning.
Yeah. So, sir, blended financing, I'm talking.
Yeah, blended financing. Again, when you talk of blended financing, you're talking of public sector and private sector partnership. Yes, that has worked in many ways, and to some extent, because sovereign bonds have also helped in. When I say blended financing, I can talk of sovereign green bonds. You're saying something I can't hear.
Yes, so sovereign green bond, yeah, you're right. That can be one of the funding tool also.
Yeah. Then multilateral the sovereign guarantees. So sovereign what is happening is raising funds, cheaper funds from outside overseas is something which is required. And for that, a sovereign guarantee, I call it, is very much required, which you can improve your rating and you can get costly financing. So when I say blended financing, I don't say that the money has to come from the government, but a guarantee from the government, a multilateral guarantees, this can help in blended financing, and that is what it can move the sector forward.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Das. Thank you so much for your guidance. So, Popli sir, I'd like to just have your views on the budget announcements on the clean tech manufacturing sector. So, keeping in mind your experience, what do you think? What will be the impact on the entire sector? And even the PLI scheme also, which is already there in the sector in the last maybe 3-4 years. So your views on that also will be helpful to us. And whatever uh, we are talking about the uh, great opportunity in the energy transition. But what are the biggest bottlenecks in this sector from your point of view? Because you have seen as a lender many such results, many such opportunities. So over to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Ashish ji. See,
Yes, sir.
in the budget, there were 2-3 things for clean technology. One, the biggest thing that was announced was nuclear mission. And since the nuclear energy has not taken off in a big way that everybody wanted, the nuclear mission, am I audible?
Yes,
Hello?
sir. Yes, sir. You are audible.
Uh,
Yes, sir.
So
Absolutely.
the nuclear energy has not taken off in a big way. So if it is announced now in a mission mode, that is going to help the clean technology. Because see, the coal thermal power plants would still remain there in 2050 and as well as in 2070. So the emissions would still be there in the energy transition. So we would want that alternate, like Greenco has done round the clock power and other companies have done, the prices of batteries have to come down. But then you have a nuclear this thing, and then they are promoting 200 megawatt of nuclear reactors. Again, it is deregulated, so that is going to help. The other thing that they did was reducing duties on critical minerals and also on a lot of components. So I think the battery manufacturing and other things that 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 will help. The third thing that was done was support to MSME sector, the guarantee limits and other things that have changed. Since the MSME sector contributes almost 30% to the GDP, it is important that MSME sector was promoted. So these were 3 or 4 things that were there for green, clean energy. Also, the budget for ministry, MNRE and Ministry of Power has been enhanced. So what it is going to do is, if Ministry of Power has more funding, then reforms that will go into upgrading their infrastructure also, transmission infrastructure and distribution infrastructure, and those states that follow the reform, they will have additional 0.5% of GDSP. So that they have inbuilt into reforms, and that is what is required, because if we have to transition, we require state sector to be very strong, because then only they will be able to buy more power. And the energy transition would happen. Now with regard to the bottlenecks in energy transition. Okay. So with regard to bottlenecks in energy transition, one, I would say we would still need coal at the end of 2050, 2070. And we require, in my opinion, we have not invested much in carbon capture. Now, that can be monetized. And if we do carbon capture, that is going to help. We have come out with green mission, so that will be for hard to abate sectors. We have come out with nuclear mission, that is very good. We are doing a lot of work on biofuels. So that is again great thing. Then oil and gas companies are now they understand that they have to transition. So these things we are addressing, but we need to, a little work is going on. And once we do that is going to help. What was your other question, Ashish ji? If I am left with, what is it that you wanted me to answer further? Hello? Hello? Ashish ji? Mr. Das, am I audible?
Yes, sir. You're audible, sir.
Okay.
You're audible, sir. Mr. Ashish,
Okay.
are you there?
Yes. I think sir,
So Ashish ji, what is another thing that you wanted me to answer?
No, sir, we were just asking about the bottlenecks, the energy transition, keeping in mind the aggressive targets and all from the funding point of view.
From the funding point of view.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, sir, lot of sectors would require, as Mr. Subradas also pointed out, lot of sectors would require funding at a concessional rate. Now, I remember 4-5 years back, the government came out with tax-free bonds. And that was a great step in my opinion, although the Ministry of Finance thought that we are creating distortion in the market and subsequently this was not allowed. But that was the simplest thing to do. And we were able to lend, we raised the bonds at I think 6% or something, and we were able to lend at 8%. So such types of things do help a lot because eventually the money has to be in the system. And if you want to promote a sector, you have to do that. Now the guarantees were not coming. I remember AFD was struggling to get sovereign guarantees. Then I requested them to charge me 0.5% more, but give me the line of credit. Because in any case, I am paying for 1% for getting the sovereign guarantee. So a lot of people may not be knowing that all the public sector undertakings, government bodies that get sovereign guarantee, they have to pay 1%. So the fee is still there. Then you have like concessional funding from JICA, etc. That is at a much lower rate, but then their currency is very strong. So eventually, it comes back to overall. You don't get too much benefit, but it is there for long term. You get it for 20 years, 25 years. So that is a big advantage, and whole of the fluctuation is taken care of even when you go for hedging, etc. So that is there. You require huge amount of funding. Now people are resorting to a lot of IPOs are coming in the primary market. Of course, notwithstanding what has happened in last 1 month, but a lot of people have been able to raise equity funding from the market, and that is good. A lot of companies have got listed, so that is a good way of raising funding from the market. Besides that, you require a blend of long-term financing. Then, with regard to green bonds, I mean, I was talking the other day to the present IREDA chairman. He said we don't get any concession as a financer in raising money. So they are not able to reduce interest rates. Banks still get cheap deposits, but NBFCs don't have such a thing. So the interest rates for NBFCs are slightly higher at present from the banks, though this keeps fluctuating. But that is a bottleneck. I mean, you need to support them. There are so many things, of course, it may not fall into the priority, but then these things need to be deliberated because uh, if you have to compete in manufacturing, your cost of at the way you lend to your manufacturing industry has to be lower. I mean, how China went ahead so much because of the government support, and I would say here they were always struggling. They were getting at initially they were getting at 12%, 11%. Now, of course, it's more reasonable. Today the rates are at 9.5 to 10.5. But we have lent at much higher rates. We have lent for a small period at 8% also. So those things, of course, are market determined. But then we did get support from the government. We raised green bonds from international market. At that time, things were very good. But we have to, uh, we have to, this thing, the Indian bond market has to grow, and especially the green bond. So some concessions have to be built in to do that, and that is what is required. Otherwise, funding, costlier funding would be there. That doesn't help. For startups, they also get it a much higher rate of interest because there's no, they are not able to provide security. The first time entrepreneurs, banks and NBFCs ask for collateral, which they can do it for one project, then they are not able to take up second project. So if you want to build up a very healthy ecosystem, some more measures, some more liberal measures will have to be taken so that you see this becoming more vibrant. I'm not saying, I mean, whatever has been achieved is excellent, but little more can be done.
Great, sir. I think very good points. So many areas which you have said concessional funding is required, maybe by way of guarantees or in other areas. So I think very good move government has taken in this budget. Or rather they have announced in the last budget and they've implemented this year this 100 crore guarantee to
for
the MSME
MSME.
sector against plant and machinery. This has come first time in the country.
Right.
So 100 crore is a good amount. Actually, if you see, this will boost up the manufacturing sector a lot. Such kind of initiatives will help to banks also to lend without collateral to this sector. And many
Right.
new players or new founders will come. They'll invest in this sector actually. So it's really a commendable job which the government has done. Thank you so much, sir, for your deliberation. Really helpful to us. Now, Mr. Abneet, sorry to keep you waited actually.
No, no.
Would like to, I think, understand from you the role of IFFC in the overall funding requirement for the clean tech sector. So, if you can give some ideas or whatever thought processes are there, you can put in the presentation also, which will be helpful to all of us.
Okay. So I'll just share my presentation with you all.
Yeah. Yeah. Try to finish it as early as possible, maybe 5 minutes if possible.
Yes. So is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
It's visible now. Okay. So basically, I'll start with the vision of IFSCA. Sorry, just
No issue.
yeah. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll start the presentation by sharing the vision of IFSCA with the esteemed panel members. So the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, said that he wanted GIFT IFSC to be the gateway of global debt and equity capital for sustainable and climate projects. So IFSCA is working in this direction only to achieve this vision. So in past 4 years, IFSCA has taken significant steps in accelerating the global sustainable capital flow by creating a conducive regulatory environment inspired by international best practices, but focused specially on the needs of the developing countries. IFSCA has undertaken focused initiatives across three major sources of funding, that is the debt securities, loans, and funds. So in 2021, we have come up with the listing regulations of 2021, which provided the framework for ESG labeled debt security listing. Later in 2024, we have reviewed this framework and we have come up with the listing regulations of 2024. In 2022, we have come up with the guidance framework for sustainable and sustainability linked lending by financial institutions. In 2023, we have come up with a framework for disclosures by fund management entities for ESG schemes. So, in order to encourage the growth of green bonds, social bonds, sustainability bonds, and sustainability linked bonds, and other label bonds, IFSCA has specified the necessary regulatory framework, which is in line with the globally recognized standards. By this framework has resulted into a listing of around 15.43 billion US dollars as of 31st January 2025 on the IFSC exchanges. So, in the listing regulations, we have recognized various international standards such as International Capital Market Associations, Climate Bond Standards, ASEAN standards, and European Union standards. So, all these standards are being recognized by IFSCA to give a flexibility to the issuer of the green bonds. Apart from these internationally recognized standards, we have also accepted various reporting frameworks like ISSB, TCFD, BRSR, Global Reporting Initiatives in our listing regulation to give the flexibility to the issuer of green bonds. So in the listing regulations, we have mandated certain disclosures, which are pre-issuance disclosures and annual disclosures for all green, social, sustainability, and sustainability linked bonds. The annual disclosures include the utilization report, allocation report, and the impact report. So, apart from these features, we have this competitive tax advantage for the issuers of the green finance in GIFT IFSC. So GIFT IFSC provide a lower withholding tax of 9% instead of 20% for the debt issuance of the Indian corporates. This fixed withholding tax also simplified the taxation process. The IFSC exchanges also provide cost-efficient services, which include the lower listing fees, and it also gives the international connectivity with the international exchanges. Not only this, recently we have jointly with RBI have come up with a scheme for trading and settlement of sovereign green bond in IFSC. This we had done to increase the global participation in the sovereign green bonds. So currently we are working on the operational part of the scheme. But we have more or less the scheme has been launched on the RBI website as well as IFSCA website. Also, hello, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah. Also, so basically, just wanted to share with you that there's a need of funding which is required. So I just want to quote the India's communication of you to UNFCCC on the new collective quantified goals on climate finance, which said that the to achieve the net zero goals, the developing nation needs a funding of around 250 to 300 billion annually. But currently, the available funding is only around 40 to 50 billion, which is roughly around the 30% of what the funding requirement is. Apart from this, the developing nations also required around 60 to 70 billion annually for the adaptation and resilience. If we talk about India, the climate finance needs of India, only 17% of climate finance needs has been catered by the international sources, and rest 83% has been catered by the domestic sources. Uh, Also, as we were discussing, that as per one of the reports, India would need at least 10.1 trillion to achieve its net zero goals, where a significant amount of investments will have to be financed through the global sources. So this is where GIFT IFSC will play a key role in a gateway for global capital flow in India. So many initiatives by IFSC has been taken in this direction, and one such initiative that you were also talking about is the mandatory 5% lending. So IFSC has issued a circular on the guidance framework on sustainable and sustainability linked lending by the financial institutions. So this framework has mandated the IFSC banking units to allocate at least 5% of their loans to the green, social, sustainable or sustainability linked sectors or facilities. So this has resulted into sustainable lending of around 3 billion US dollar in the first 18 months of the implementation of this guidance framework. Also, with respect to the fund ecosystem in IFSC, I would like to say that there is a unified fund regulations which emphasize on the regulations of the fund managers in IFSC. And in order to encourage the fund management entities to incorporate the sustainability related risk and the opportunities in their investment decision making, IFSCA has mandated the large FMEs whose asset under management is above 3 billion to incorporate the additional sustainability reporting requirement, which is also based on the global standards. Also, with an intent to promote the ESG funds and drive the capital flow toward the green and sustainable projects in India, IFSC also issued a circular on requiring ESG schemes to make certain initial and periodic disclosures. So the disclosures are the which is the ESG related investment objectives, investment related strategies, risk and risk management practices, and periodic disclosures such as the ESG related performance and the proportion of the asset per objective. Uh, so, uh, Apart from all of this, IFSC has recently issued a circular on greenwashing also to mitigate the risk of greenwashing in ESG labeled debt securities. Also, to strengthen the bankability of the projects, various instruments like partial risk guarantees and blended finance models, as we were discussing, they can be very useful in increasing the bankability of the projects. IFSCA has constituted an expert committee on sustainable finance in 2021. So currently, we are just examining the recommendations of that expert committee to facilitate a blended finance mechanism in IFSCA. So, in the end, I would just like to conclude that these are the initiatives that we are taking with respect to the climate finance in the climate finance field.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Deep. I think it's really useful. There are many initiatives which IFSC has taken. People are not aware actually about these developments. Many people are not aware. So this will be helpful to all of them. If you can share the PPT to the decision team, then they begin forward to all the participants, so they can get the benefit of it also.
Okay.
So I think you have almost covered all the questions which we were looking from you from the green point of view and all. But can you just highlight just a simple process? If any entity would like to go for the green bond from the domestic entity for the global green bonds or sustainable bonds, roughly how much time it takes to them, and in terms of the size, minimum size of the investment which they should look for, but there is a cost of floating these bonds also.
Okay, so basically there is no requirement of a minimum size as such as per the regulations that we have. Basically, the timeline is roughly around 30 days to 45 days, but it depends on the exchanges and the documents that are required from the exchange from the exchange side. So for a domestic entity, there are as I have mentioned that around 15.43 billion of ESG labeled bond is already listed on IFSC exchanges, and around 70 or 80% I think is from the domestic side of India. So basically, you just need to go through the regulations that we have. We have not mandated any stringent or any sort of restrictions on the Indian side. In fact, we have given the flexibility that all the globally recognized standards and all the globally recognized the reporting frameworks we have included in our listing framework. So it will be so it will give an flexibility to the issuer. So I think around as you asked, like it will take around 30 to 45 days time period to get listed in the FSC stock exchange.
Okay, got it. Great. So I think we have discussed a lot on the clean tech manufacturing, various funding options, challenges, and the perspective of the key panel speakers from the domestic funding point of view, international bottlenecks, and the government incentives, opportunities. And the outcome, what I believe the outcome is that the police has told that government should work out some framework, maybe guarantees can help or some concessional funding can help to boost up this sector. And Dasar is also giving the good idea also that whatever the projects are coming, these projects require some kind of innovative funding options because plain vanilla funding might not help the longer run. And Alpit from the GEF has given the advice to the founders also wherever they are planning for any such investments, they should be ready with all aspects also. And from Gift City point of view, I think you have given a lot of food for thought for our audience that if they are looking for raising green bonds or the sustainable bonds, I think this is the right platform. Or even then, you are saying that 5% of the incremental lending should go for the this sustainable sector actually. So ECBs are now easily available, I can say, because this is the compulsion for the banks also in the Gift City. So these are such areas. I think the overall discussion, these will help to the investors, lenders, and the industry players also. And at the end of the day, I would like to thank to the key panel speakers for joining with us, sparing their valuable time. All are busy in their own areas, and they're veteran also. So I would like to thank you again for joining with us, and I would like to thank you to the Resurgent India team, digital team, and the Green Finance team for making such efforts where these kind of small baby steps can help to contribute something in the overall ocean of this green financing or climate financing. And we are committed to organize such kind of program. So we are organizing one national summit on green finance
1 minute.
on 5th of March. We'll send the invite to all of you. Please be there where we will have the discussion, and the all kind of investors, lenders will be there, and the industry players will be there to interact and discuss on the various opportunities on the climate financing. So once again, thank you to everybody, and wish you all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashish.
Thank you, Ashish.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Subrat ji.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.